G'day kids, thanks for tuning in to another Aussie episode. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that way you won't miss out on any of the new videos we put out, and it would certainly make my day. In the meantime, enjoy this video.
Ozzie, 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 oi! Ozzie is a friend of yours and he's a friend of mine.
G'day Ozzie. G'day Ozzie. G'day Ozzie. G'day Ozzie.
G'day kids, Ozzie here. Today we've come along to Wildlife Sydney Zoo and we're going to learn all about one of Australia's most iconic animals. Now can you guess what it might be? That's right kids, it's Australia's national icon, the kangaroo. Now we're going to meet some of these unique and very impressive animals and find out just what it is that makes them so awesome. So come on kids, let's hop to it. Come this way kids. So it looks like it's feeding time for the kangaroos, and I'm going to go in there and meet Morgan and meet some kangaroos. How cool is this going to be? Hello Morgan.
Hi Ozzie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
So we've got some awesome little hoppy friends here.
Yeah.
Now what kind of kangaroos are these?
So these guys are Western Grey Kangaroos, but there's two different kinds. So we have Kangaroo Island kangaroos, which is this one here, and we've got the Mainland kangaroos from the Western Grey species.
Okay, so how do you tell the difference between the two different types? Hello.
There's not too much difference between them. I'd say visually the only big thing is more so their fur's a little bit thicker.
Okay.
Because it gets a little bit colder on Kangaroo Island.
Right.
And they're a little bit darker as well. So you
Okay.
can see Dot here and Dusk, who's this one in the middle here. Both of those girls are a little bit darker than the other two.
So they've got names. This is Dot and this is Dusk, yeah?
Yes.
And what are the other three names?
So we've got Kirby, who's right in front here, and then you've got Julie, and you've got Nutmeg as well.
Very cool names. Who gets to name them? Is that something that you get to do as part of your job here?
So two of them are hand raised, so
nothing.
we named them when they were very, very young.
Okay.
But the other three actually came with other names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Is there other types of kangaroos around Australia?
Yeah, so there's three main types of kangaroos in Australia. So you have these guys. So these guys you only find on the south and west coast of Australia.
Okay.
And then you've got the big red kangaroos, which live in the centre of Australia.
Right.
They're a little bit different. They're a lot bigger, and their fur is usually that really red kind of colour that a lot of people see in kangaroos.
Yep.
And then you've got our eastern greys, which live on this side of Sydney.
Okay.
They're a little bit bigger, and their fur is a lot lighter grey as well.
Okay.
And their fur's a lot thinner as well because it doesn't get as cold where
Fair enough. That's very clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, are these kangaroos fully grown?
Yes, they are all
Okay.
fully grown. So our heaviest is this one who's trying to get the food out of my pocket. Her name is Dot, and she is about 27 kilos.
27 kilos,
Yeah.
okay.
But that's typical size for a female. A male
Right.
can get a lot bigger. So
Okay.
the boys can get probably about double her weight.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot bigger.
And which type of kangaroos are the biggest kangaroos?
The biggest kangaroos are the red kangaroos.
The reds?
Yes.
And how big can they get?
So the biggest one that has been recorded recently, his name was Roger, and he lived
Roger.
in the lived over in Alice Springs.
Okay.
And when he stood up, he was 6'8". So he was a very, very big boy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, what are you feeding the kangaroos there?
So we are feeding them sweet potato. Would you like to feed
I'd
them?
love to. Now, who wants some sweet potato?
I'd say all of them.
Now, sweet potato, is that something that they would commonly find in and around Australia, or do they eat other things?
Not specifically. So the sweet potato is a little bit of a treat for them.
Is that-
So we use it for their training and when they get to meet people. It's also very good for their teeth.
Okay.
But these guys out in the wild, they'd eat a lot of grasses, they'd eat a lot of leaves that have fallen from trees. They've also eaten a lot of roots and stuff from the ground, as
Okay.
well as bark as well.
Wow.
So we give them similar stuff here, so they can eat anything that falls from the ground from all of our trees. They also get hay at all times, and these guys, they also get grass tussocks
Oh, wow.
given to them as well.
quite a varied diet.
Yes, and these guys, they're a grazing species, so they don't have a breakfast, lunch and dinner like we do. These guys actually eat at any time during the day.
All through the day?
Yeah.
Like cows?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So how old are these girls?
So all of the girls vary between 3 and 8 years old. So the one that you're giving a pat to, she's 3. She only just turned 3 last week.
Happy birthday.
And then our oldest is Julie, who's this one here, and she's 8 years old.
Oh wow, okay.
But that doesn't mean she's in charge though. So Dot, who is this one in front of me, she's the one in charge.
She's the leader?
Yeah, but she's only 6.
Right.
But she's been here the longest and she's the biggest, which means she's the one in charge of the mob.
She's the so a mob. You said mob. Is that what it's called when they're a group of kangaroos?
Yeah, that's what a group of kangaroos is called. Is a mob.
A mob. I like it. That's very cool. What's a baby kangaroo called?
So it's called a joey.
Okay.
Yeah. So all marsupials, which is what these guys are, all their babies are called joeys.
All right.
Yeah. So what they do when the mum gets pregnant, she's only pregnant for about 30 days, which is not a long time at all.
That's super quick.
Yeah. So what that means though is when they're born, they're very, very little. And they're very underdeveloped. So they're kind of about the size of a jelly bean.
Wow, that is tiny.
Yeah, they're completely pink. They've got no fur or anything like that. Their eyes are completely sealed and they've only got their forearms.
Right.
Yeah.
So no tail, no legs?
Nothing.
Yeah,
so what these guys will do, they do have a really good sense of smell.
Okay.
So they need to smell their way into mum's pouch.
Wow.
Yeah, so mum will usually lick a pathway all the way over to the pouch so they can crawl up that way. And what they need to do once they get into the pouch is attach themselves to a teat that's in there.
Yep.
And they'll stay in there for another couple of months.
Wow.
Until they start looking kind of like what a kangaroo should look like.
Yep.
Just pretty much without the fur.
Okay.
And then once they're typically about 9 months old, that's when they'll start kind of coming out and exploring a little bit more.
Okay.
And by the time they're a year old, they're completely out of the pouch full time.
Okay.
They still need to hang out with mum for a little bit just so they can learn how to be a kangaroo and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But typically from about a year and a half old, they're completely independent.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
That's amazing. Now, are any of these girls going to have babies?
Not anytime soon.
Right.
So we don't have any males in here.
Okay.
It's all girls out of our group. So we're not expecting anything anytime soon. But if they did have a baby, it would be sitting in their pouch.
Right.
So none of them look like they've got a big pouch at the moment, so
Yeah.
they don't need to worry about that.
Hello.
So I'll show you where their pouch lives.
So I'm fascinated by the pouch. I would love to know how it works, and it looks cuddly in there for the newborns and the babies.
Yeah, so I'll get her to stand up. So their pouch lives just here.
Okay.
Yeah, so just on there.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people think like it's a big pocket that goes across their stomach. It's actually not the case at all. It's kind of like a belly button that can expand when there's a joey inside.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so these guys, if they're hopping around, they can get really, really fast sometimes. And if they're running away from something and it's a big pocket in front of their stomach, the baby's going to fall out.
Yeah.
So what they do is they have it nice and tight and sealed, so that way the baby's not going to fall out if they've got to hop away anywhere.
Very, very clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you speak of them hopping, how fast can these kangaroos hop?
Not too fast. I'd say around probably about 30 kilometres an hour, right at full speed.
Yeah, that's this type of kangaroo, is it?
Yeah, so the reds typically get a little bit faster, but they're not the fastest mammal in Australia. That belongs to the wombat.
Wombats are faster than kangaroos?
Yeah.
Now there's a fun fact I didn't know. Wonder if any of the kids at home knew. Did you know that, kids? And how high can these kangaroos hop?
They actually can't jump very high, but they can jump really long.
Right.
So the longest hop that they can do is typically about 5 meters long.
Wow.
Yeah, where if they were going height-wise, they'd probably still pretty high, but they'd get probably to about my hip.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's still pretty high.
Yeah.
So they're not going to make very good high jumpers.
No.
But they would make good long jumpers in the Olympics.
Definitely.
So maybe we should put an Aussie jersey on one of you girls and send you off to the Olympics, eh?
Oh, this one would love it.
Well, she certainly loves a pat.
Yeah, so Dot is one of our hand-raised kangaroos.
Okay. And is that why she's so placid and very comfortable with me, like even holding her hand there?
Yes, she loves people holding her hands. We don't know where she got it from.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but Dot was found when she was about 4 months old.
Okay.
She was in her mum's pouch,
Right.
and unfortunately her parents got into car collisions.
Oh no.
So a very good person over on Kangaroo Island checked the pouch and they found Dot, and they called wires.
Right.
And those are the people who take care of injured wildlife or orphaned wildlife. And they took care of her for a little bit, and then she came to us when she was 6 months old.
And you've raised her since then.
Yes.
And she loves it here.
Yeah, and she turned 6 last week.
Oh, happy
not
birthday.
last week, last month.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
For any of the viewers at home, the kids and the parents, and even for people coming from overseas, if you see a kangaroo in the wild, are they likely to be this friendly? Can you go up and just pat them and feed them sweet potato in the wild?
It's very unlikely. So these girls, because Dot and Dust, they were hand raised, they're very, very friendly.
Yep.
And these ones have been around us for about a year now, so they're very placid.
Okay.
But out in the wild, they're typically not going to be as friendly. They're probably going to be a bit more scared of you. So they'll probably run away pretty fast. But if you do ever go see a kangaroo, never walk up to them at the front, because that's where all the dangerous stuff is.
Right,
so
okay.
these guys, they have 2 very, very strong legs, and if they do feel threatened, what they're going to do is kick.
Right.
Yeah, which is quite scary, and it is quite painful. So with these guys, if you do ever want to approach one, approach them from the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So how do they've only got 2 legs that are on the ground at the moment. How do they use them to kick?
So they actually have a really, really strong tail. You can see Dot's one just here.
Yeah.
So it's actually completely made of muscle and bone. It's
Wow.
very, very strong. And if they want to, they can actually hold their entire body weight on it.
On their tail?
Yeah.
That's
it's really, really
impressive.
cool. So if they were to kick, what they're going to do is just step up on their tippy toes, get really, really high, and they'll lean all the way back and kick out with both
Lean back
feet.
on their tail and kick out like that?
Yeah, and that's what kangaroo kickboxing is.
Kickboxing, yeah, the
Yeah.
boxing kangaroo. And do they use their hands as well?
Not really. So what they'll do is kind of just wave them around.
Right.
Yeah, it looks a little bit silly, but it seems to work for them. They do have quite sharp claws as well.
They're beautiful and amazing animals, and they're certainly very unique to Australia.
Yes, definitely.
Very proud to call these animals part of our culture.
Yes.
Have you got any more fun facts for the kids at home?
So fun fact for our kangaroos is there's actually 3 times the amount of kangaroos in Australia than there is people.
Wow.
So they outnumber us 3 to 1.
That is a lot of kangaroos, isn't
Yeah.
it? These beautiful kangaroos, they're such a unique animal to Australia, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And lots of tourists come along to visit and see these kangaroos up close and personal.
Yes, they do.
Can you find kangaroos anywhere else in the world though?
Not particularly. So these type of kangaroos, absolutely not.
Yep.
We only have them in Australia. But there is one kind of macropod which is called a tree kangaroo.
Okay.
And those guys, we do have some in Australia, but there's also some that live in Papua New Guinea.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's called a Goodfellows tree kangaroo. We actually have one here at the zoo. His
And they
name
live
is
up the
Kofi.
trees?
Yeah, they live up in trees. So those guys typically stay all the way up high where it's nice
Wow.
and safe,
Yeah.
and their tail's a lot longer, so they
Okay.
can balance themselves a lot better.
Very
up there.
clever, very clever. Now, I know that we have the kangaroo and the emu on the Australian coat of arms.
Yes, we do.
But can you tell me why we've chosen those 2 animals as a representation of Australia and why we would have them on our coat of arms?
So the main reason for both of them is neither of them can walk backwards.
Wow.
Yeah, so what that means in the coat of arms is that we're always moving forward, never
How
backwards,
clever.
which is a really, really cool thing.
That's amazing. Very,
Yeah.
very clever. Now, I have learnt so much here today, so thank you so much for having me here at Wildlife Sydney Zoo.
Of course.
For all our visitors that want to come along and they're in Sydney, do they just come along? Can they come in here and pat the kangaroos?
So what you can do if you want to come into our kangaroo area is you just stick along the pathway, you walk all the way through, and our girls love people, so they'll come over and say
Right,
hello.
So they come over and meet the
and-
guests as they arrive at the ropes.
Yes, and they love to give them pats and everything like that. So they're very, very much excited to meet people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here today.
Awesome, thank you for coming.
It's been a great experience. I'm sure the kids at home have learnt lots. Kids, hope you feel inspired to come along and learn more about kangaroos, get up close and personal and pat them. They're super soft and they're awesome, awesome animals. We'll see you on the next video, and until then, stay keen. If you haven't already, make sure you get a grown-up to help you hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss out on any of the new and exciting videos that we put out. Speaking of new and exciting, if there's a video that you'd love to see Ozzie do, make sure you send us a message on our socials, on Facebook or Instagram at Ozzie for Kids. We'll see you again soon, kids. And until then, stay keen. Oh, and by the way, did you happen to find the hidden Ozzie icon in that video? Yeah, make sure you look closely because they're in every single video. That's right. Stay keen, kids.
Ozzie, 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 oi! Ozzie is a friend of yours and he's a friend of